Right then. So then, we have earlier on had a little chat to a lovely lady called Charlie Dore. Now, Charlie Dore, you may well remember because of this.
Pilot of the airwaves, here is my request. You don't have to play it, but I hope you'll do your best. I've been listening to your show on the radio, and you seem like a friend to me.
Remember that one? Charlie Dore and pilot of the airwaves, of course. Now, I caught up with Charlie earlier on and had a little chat to her because we just couldn't get the timing so that she could come and chat to us live. So here is our chat from earlier. This afternoon, we're joined by Charlie Dore, who way back in 1970 brought us pilot of the airwaves. And of course, all of us DJs love a play of that. Charlie, did you ever think when pilot of the airwaves crashed you into the limelight that you'd still be gigging and doing interviews 40 years later?
God.
I'm sorry. Is that like a jolt?
That shocks me, actually. Yes, it is a jolt because I'm still, in my head, I'm still 23.
I know. Well, I still have that issue with trying to work out how many years things is because we've crossed over from the 19, so somebody says 1999 and I go, that's 20 years ago. Surely that's only about 10 years ago. So it makes it, seem even longer, I think.
Yes, I do that.
I've had a look at you and your bio, and it looks like you started out as an actress. You were in Rep in Newcastle. Would you say that acting was your first love, or was it always really music?
Well, they were kind of side by side, I think. Although, when I was little, I was always singing and trying to play the piano and that sort of thing. But then I thought, actually briefly I wanted to be a ballerina, but I grew too tall. I had a sort of brief spurt between about age 9 and 14, and then I just became normal height. But by then, too late. I had the acting bug, and so that was where I thought I was headed. But I was always when I worked as an actress, I started out as I got my first job because I was an actor musician.
Right.
That's why I got the job.
Do you think you had to kind of make a choice, or have you been able to straddle the two over the years?
Well, I think it was a gradual thing, and there was a period when I came out of Rep and I did the odd bits of television and Fringe and that sort of thing, but somehow the music thing was always there in the background, and I wasn't really taking it so seriously, but gradually it started to seem more important. And when I met people who I admired and heard people who I admired, people who had a huge influence on me musically, it became much more attractive to do that as a career.
And is there an element of acting when you're on stage and performing, or are you just Charlie Dore, or is there an element of kind of putting a facade on? So would you say that you kind of bringing the whole of the performing thing into it?
I think it actually is me. Although it did take me a bit of time when I first started to relax and be me, because I didn't know. I was used to having a script, and I always felt, when I first used to hear tapes of myself introducing songs, when I was really young, I really used to. I would feel so embarrassed because to me I sounded like the Queen. I wished I came from Liverpool, for instance, because that always sounded great, that accent, or Welsh or Irish, anything except somebody saying, "This next number is when my boyfriend left me," and that's what it sounded like to me, and it took me quite a long time to kind of relax and go, okay, this is me. This is, as Oscar Wilde says, be yourself. Everyone else is taken, and it just took me a little while to kind of realise that.
And I think it's really important for you to do that chatty bit in between songs, so that you connect with your audience. But thinking about you, thinking you sound like the Queen, audiences abroad will have loved that. They will have absolutely loved it. In fact, you mentioned your acting, and you were in the award-winning film Ploughman's Lunch. And I have to say, one of my colleagues, Graham, when I was I was doing an interview with you, was like, "Oh, Ploughman's Lunch, I love that." So I just had to give him a mention for you. Now, back to the music. You've written for other people as well. How does that come around?
Well, that kind of sidled into my life really as well, because I was playing live, and with a little acoustic band. it was just that I got a cover by somebody else, which I hadn't really pursued, and then suddenly when that opened up, just getting that one cover and getting one hit for somebody else, then the others, you got invitations to write with other writers for one thing, and then that whole other area opened up, which has been lovely, although it does confuse things a bit because often the people I write for are nothing like what I do, but because they're better known than me, those are the people who get mentioned, of course, and then that does add a slight confusion, really, as to what on earth I do.
Yes.
Because I don't sound like Tina Turner or Jimmy
Nail doing Ain't No Doubt. Did you know what? Before I was doing the interview and I went through, people that you've written for, and I had a little listen to that song because I haven't heard it for a while, and it was such a catchy one. And I love the lady's voice who does the backing vocals on it as well. It's amazing.
Oh yes, that's Sylvie Mason-James.
Yes,
that's
the one indeed. Do you sometimes listen to those songs that you've written for other people and think, oh, I wish I'd kept that for myself?
Obviously not that number. Yeah. Actually, although I have to say we have sometimes done a version of that, but it's very, very different, and I don't talk it. I actually made up another tune for it, and we do it like a little kind of slightly sort of rather kind of soul stroke bluesy thing, which is quite out of character. And the only time I have actually talked that was one time when we did a gig in Birmingham, and I woke up with no voice, and I certainly talked it then.
But I bet you did.
Apart from that, yes. Sorry, carry on.
No, go on.
You?
No, not at all.
Well, I'm just saying that other people. There have been one of my first songs that I got covered, which was the first cover I ever got for Sheena Easton. It was a song called Strut. I wanted to keep that myself very much. And I had no idea, where she would take it, and I wasn't keen at all. But I got talked into it, and luckily, that ended up financing quite a lot of the other stuff that I did.
There you go, and that's the other side of it, isn't it? So this Sunday you're in our area, you're in West Kirby, and you're performing alongside Julian Littman. Now, you've worked together loads and loads, and I saw that you were part of the Rainbow Crew.
Yes.
It's Zippy, George and Bungle. I had no idea about this. So you were the musical accompaniments that would, I suppose, offset the pranks of Zippy.
Well, yes, we actually, I was talking about this to somebody yesterday and saying that we had to write 3 songs a week for it. Wow. There was me and Julian and a lovely actor called Carl Johnson, who you'll definitely have seen because he's everywhere, basically. We were the 3. And we did 3 shows a week and 3 songs we had to do. And that was, very good training.
I bet.
Sure.
Yeah, because you had to churn it out quite a lot. Now, I read that the 2 of you, for this gig that's coming up, it says in the blurb at West Kirby Arts Centre, you swap guitars, mandolin, harmonium, ukulele, piano and auto harp.
Yes, we do. We don't set out to be kind of like a variety act or anything. But
we'll have to get you on Britain's Got Talent at this rate. You can like doing a juggling act at the same time.
Well, sometimes it feels like it actually, but it's just the way the set works out. Is we I try and build a set so that it builds in itself, and that there's a variety of pace, and that just kind of involves lots of different instruments. So we do, Julian will swap from guitar to harmonium, and then I'll come off guitar and I'll go on harmonium, and then I'll switch back to ukulele. And in fact, in one song I play ukulele standing at the harmonium. Wow. And then I break off and play the harmonium, which is a sound engineer's nightmare.
I bet.
But I do hear that there's a genius sound person at West Kirby.
Oh, well, that'll be good. And what's an auto harp? I'm guessing it's a smaller electric version of it, is it?
It's a bit like a zither.
Right.
And you the real authentic sort of old-timey country people, the old sort of country players, they would hold it upright. It's kind of like a wedge of cheese. That's the shape.
Oh.
It's sort of triangular, and they'd hold the wide bit and strum with their with their right hand, and you press down all the little. There's lots of little bars that press down the notes,
Right.
It's like an automatic, you know how you fret a guitar?
Yes.
You put your fingers to change the chords. Well, this does it with a little bar that presses down certain notes, and you just press the buttons. But it's actually, to be a really good auto harp player, which I certainly don't claim to be, it's hard, it's hard, and they're an absolute beast to tune.
But easier to carry around than a big harp. So
Yes. Actually, I do own a big harp, but well, not a big one. It's a Celtic harp, but it's kind of a bit too big to bring on the road. Although I'm just about to buy a banjo, so that'll be on. That'll be in the next shows as well.
Amazing. So this is your Dark Matter tour. Now, tell us about the premise of Dark Matter. It's kind of a big subject.
It is a big subject, yes. It's really the whole album is a metaphor for the unknown, because dark matter is, as you say, it's a massive subject, and yet 85% of dark matter is unknown. Mm-hmm. Scientists, they say we just don't know what it is. And I felt that was a bit like the kind of internal dark matter, of your brain, my brain, because it is slightly mysterious, or in fact very mysterious, because I don't know about you, but I often feel I'm surprising myself when somebody says, "What do you think of this?" And I'll say something, I think, "Oh, didn't know I thought that."
Yeah.
And it's just a really interesting and curious subject. And so, I have very little knowledge of science. I read New Scientist occasionally, and it's fascinating stuff.
You obviously still love performing, but I see that you also run workshops with emerging songwriters. That must be really fulfilling for you.
Well, yes. Actually, they do say you learn a lot from teaching, and you do. And it's a very interesting area, because what you're dealing with people especially people who come to songwriting kind of perhaps a little later in life. They've maybe had a, like, inverted commas, a proper career, and then they've always wanted to be a writer or a singer or just do music. It's very interesting, because it's their dream, and often you'll find people you had no idea. If you walked into a room with them and spoke to them, you'd have no idea that they had these hidden depths of musicality,
Yeah.
And it's nearly always, I would say 98% of the time, it's always nice people. There's very few horrors who I come across, which is a bonus, of course.
So Sunday evening, what can we expect to see from you and Julian?
Well, we will be doing quite a lot of songs from Dark Matter, things like Breakfast of Neutrinos.
Which is what we're about to play, by the way.
Oh, are you? Oh, good.
Yes.
Good. That's the shady particle. The neutrino's the shady particle.
Oh, every day's a school day, Charlie.
God, I sound like a real swot, don't I? It's reassuring, actually, when you actually come to a gig, you'll find I know very little indeed, and I'm prepared to share it with you. But anyway, apart from that, we'll be doing that, and then but there's 5 other albums that we've done in the last few years, me and Julian together, and we dip into those, and there's so many now that we swap the set around, and we just go, "Oh, do you fancy doing that tonight?" And we'll just polish it up a little and remember it, see if we remember it, and bring it out, and it keeps it sort of fresh, and because me and Julian have known each other since we were 16 years old, there is a kind of shorthand.
I'm sure there is.
So, and I just mentioned one thing, sorry to
go on.
butt in there. I just wanted to say that we've got one of your local musicians opening the show for us. It's Dean Johnson.
Oh, right, okay.
Who's no stranger to Radio Merseyside, and certainly not to West Kirby Arts. And he's amazing. And so he's going to be there opening the show. So we're really excited about that, to meet him for the first time.
Charlie, thank you very much. That just backed up to me. What a lovely lady you are. So you can see Charlie Dore and Julian Littman. They'll be at West Kirby Arts Centre with their Dark Matter Tour 2019. It kicks off at 7:30 on Sunday. And Charlie, we're now going to play one of yours. It's Breakfast at Neutrinos. Charlie, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Have a great time. And in West Kirby on Sunday, if you're looking for something to eat, make sure you go to Marigold's for some
Marigold's?
good northern fish and chips just up the road.
Oh, Oh, thank you. Thanks for the tip.
No
Excellent.
worries. You take
All
care.
right. Thanks, Lisa.
Bye, bye, bye.